If we'll all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. King, roll call, please. Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Board, if you'll take a moment and review the agenda, I'll need a motion and a second to continue.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Newberry and a second by Ms. Lessman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Dr. Nichols, we'll jump right into action items.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend for approval the consent agenda items. They contain the following: A, minutes number 22-18 of July 26, 2022. B, an amendment to the original 21-22 agreement by and between the City of Madison Board of Education and the Enrichment Center for increased counseling services for an additional $5,000 per month for services provided during the months of August and September, as described in the agreement. C, an agreement by and between the City Board of Education and Footsteps Change, Inc. for special ed consultation services from August 22nd through December 22nd for the sum of $1,375 per week, and an agreement by and between the City Board of Education and Montgomery Interpreting Services for special education interpreting services for hearing impaired students from August 1 of 2022 to July 1 of 2023. And then E, bid number 2022-13, CNP Refrigeration System from Bresco, who presented the only responsible bid meeting specifications for a total of $14,821.
Board, the superintendent recommends the approval of the consent agenda, which includes items A through E. Can I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Lessman and a second by Mr. Cummings. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Consent agenda passes. Dr. Nichols.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend approval of a contract for vehicle insurance coverage for Auto Owners Insurance Company for the Madison City Schools for an amount of $157,737.69.
Board, the superintendent recommends approval of a contract for vehicle insurance coverage from Auto Owners Insurance Company for Madison City Schools. Can I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Cummings, a second by Mr. Newberry. Discussion?
Mr. President, members of the board, the district has had multiple vehicle coverage policies to kind of overlap each other. We had a limited policy that basically covered liability on our equipment. Then we'd have to buy a supplemental policy to cover any external damages that might happen, and then another policy to cover student drivers. It's become, and basically for $100,000 worth of coverage, which is pretty limited on a bus. This new coverage costs more, but gives us a full range of coverage that would cover accidents, our drivers, our student drivers. It also would cover our buses in case of vandalism, storm, tornado, flood, earthquake, and they would do that at $1 million. So it's a much better coverage. Ms. Gray, Ms. Williams checked around school systems. We're one of the few left with the old system that we had. Most have gone to a more comprehensive system to cover. And so I think we're getting a lot of value to cover the equipment we have. As the board knows, we run 101 buses a day and a fleet of cars, and they run 404 routes a day. So, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts going on, and so I think this really not only is beneficial to the property you as the board and the district has, but also is beneficial to our staff coverage on them as well. Ms. Gray is here if you have any questions.
Board, any comment? I think just in general, it's got to be much easier to have a single policy, and yeah, it certainly looked like our coverage was was quite limited previously, and with a ever-growing fleet and the miles that we're putting on it, I think it's the prudent thing to do, and I appreciate the finance department looking into that. Anything else, board? Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Move into personnel actions. Dr. Nichols?
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend for your approval the list of substitutes for Madison City Schools.
Board, the superintendent recommends a list of substitute for Madison City Schools. Can these be taken as a group? The group's fine. Can I have a motion in a second?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Lessman and a second by Mr. Cummings. Any discussion? We'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Dr. Nichols.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend for approval the team's contracts with Madison City Schools.
Board, the superintendent recommends approval of the team's contract for Madison City Schools. Can I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Newberry, second by Ms. Lessman. Discussion?
Mr. President, members of the board, just a reminder that, of course, the team's contracts come through the state. It's a salary schedule adopted by the state, enhanced payment for those that are certified in math and science, meet the classes that are required to teach in those areas. Once we get verification, Dr. Donaldson and Ms. Powell work to get Dr. Jaw, and they all work together to make sure that we're having folks teach the required course list that was provided by the state, and then any type of verification that they have that we need, then we bring those to you and add them to a team's contract. So we'll probably have more of these coming in the future.
Any other discussion, board? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Dr. Nichols, contracts.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend for approval the supplemental contracts for work performed for Madison City Schools.
Board, the superintendent recommends approval of the supplemental contracts for work performed for Madison City Schools. Can these be taken as a group? With the group fine, can I have a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
A motion by Mr. Halsey and a second by Mr. Cummings. Any discussion?
Mr. President, members of the board, the first few of these are finishing out this school year. The bulk of these are assignments for the 22-23 school year. Supplemental work for a variety of things. Most of them are probably athletic coaching supplements at this time that we yearly do. But there's also some others for after-school work or high school students that we hire to work at elementary schools. So this is the bulk of starting 22-23. Of course, as the year goes along, there'll be continued contracts along the way. But appreciate Dr. Jha and her team for this is a lot of people to keep up with on interim contracts, and so they do a tremendous job of keeping all those in place.
They do, and I appreciate breaking it down by school year and the pace that you do keep up with it. Historically we might get contracts that were 4 or 5 times this size in a certain month, and then be a little thin for a while. You've done a really good job keeping them timely and separating them out so we can see what's coming through. I appreciate that.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was thinking, have we gotten one at the beginning of the year like this? But what you just explained made sense. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, board? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Dr. Nichols.
Mr. President, members of the board, I recommend for you the personnel items listed, resignations, employments, and other areas of the personnel agenda.
Board, the superintendent recommends the personnel actions that you have before you. Can these be taken as a group? The group fine. Can I have a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Lessman and a second by Mr. Newberry. Any discussion? No discussion. I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. Dr. Nichols, is there any recognition out of this one that you need to call to
No,
our
sir.
attention? Okay. And that, I believe, completes personnel actions, and that will move us into superintendent comments.
Mr. President, members of the board, first of all, I just want to say we had a great start to the school year. So this is day 3. I think everybody's ready for Friday. Moms, everybody. We are right at 12,000 students, which is a little above where we started last year. Just remind the board that last year we started near this number and gained 300 kids in the first 30 days. And then along the year added several hundred more. So we know that folks are coming. I think Dorinda told me we're adding 60 to 100 a day. So of that group, about 1,600 are new students to the district. Now, about 1,000 of those are probably kindergarten and pre-K, but there are about 600 new students. So we had a great start. I commend our staff for their focus on trying to figure out how many students we would have, because right now we're in pretty good shape. And we kind of estimated how many were going to be here. And so they did a tremendous job working those numbers and doing that. Also, I appreciate our early enrollment. I think we had probably upwards of 92 or 93% people who enrolled by July the 22nd. That really helps everybody. I know there were a few folks that missed that date, and they probably won't next year. But it surely helps us to know where we are and to get our class schedules aligned. And so very proud of our team. I appreciate you, the board. Y'all were out there early on the first day with us and helping in the car lines and greeting students and getting to see what the first day of school looks like. And I also appreciate our staff, our central office staff. We're out there around schools and getting them ready. And many of our central office staff were out the night before school and the night before school cleaning up, because we had some construction in places, and helping the staff to get the dust out of the way. And so, it's just, I'm proud of our team and getting to work. And everybody, I've said this before, is ready to jump in and do anything they need. It doesn't matter what it is. Everybody's excited about doing that. Again, I want to compliment Dr. Ja and her team. I think we had about 100 new teachers this year, almost split 50 new elementary and 50 new secondary. There's so much paperwork that goes on, and that's not counting our classified employees. I don't know how many Dr. Ja got this year. I probably would guess there might be 50 of them. So, and then at the same time, I know you all are aware of this, when folks move to another district or get a job somewhere else, there's paperwork that the HR department has to send to give them verification. And that's important, because when people come to us, sometimes we have to wait several months to get all their verification, and that delays their salary at what it should be. And so I'm very proud of our team, because they work very hard to support even our staff that move away to get their verification to them and their new school as quickly as possible, because that means a lot. And so it's a lot of work going on in the HR department this summer. We started early. As Dr. Ja told us in her presentation back in the spring, we had a job fair early in the spring at James Clemens. I'm not sure she wasn't handing out contracts at that. I'm not sure. I do notice that a lot of those faces that were there are employed by us now. So, we were aggressive about getting out and trying to get that in place. And because of that, we have very few hires today at this point. Thank you for coming in early to do that for us and checking off those. But the bulk of our teachers were in place. They went to New Teacher Academy. They were able to be there and do the professional development with their staff, and that's very important. That helps to develop their camaraderie and to get them started. And so very proud of them and the work that they've done, and all our principals and assistant principals who spent a lot of time interviewing, and our central office staff. With a lot of interviewing going on in the month of June. And so also would like to say, and we'll put more information out about this, that we've been awarded a $2 million DODEA grant for STEM. And Dr. Donaldson's here, and Dr. Dooley, and the whole team that worked on that. And that is tremendous. What that allows us to do is over the next 5 years, gradually move into where we are adding a STEM teacher at every elementary school. And so right now, of course, the board is aware we have 2. They take care of 4th grade, but now we'll be able to do K-5. They'll be able to get 30 to 45 minutes of STEM. That's a win-win. It's a win for the students, but it's also a win for the elementary classroom teachers, because that gives them an additional time to plan or coordinate. So that's great, and I certainly appreciate our team that worked on that, and we look forward to putting those in place and expanding what we're doing for our younger kids to prepare them for the middle school, where they have great STEM opportunities. You know, it was just a few months ago that Lee Shaw brought us that grant from Mazda Toyota and expanding those STEM opportunities at the middle school. And so this just gets them prepped for that. And it's part of our strategic draft. I can't say plan, we haven't adopted it yet. But we might have to just check it off and go on. I don't know. We can't do, you know, this group of central office and district staff don't wait. I don't mean this in a bad way. They don't wait to get it approved. They're already going. And they're knocking things off the list. And so I certainly appreciate our team that did that, and it's going to be exciting to see that implemented over the next several years. So I think I could go on about what's happened the first 2 days of school, but.
And Dr. Nichols, on that $2 million grant that we received, the system will still have to contribute some money to complete. Did you mention something
Ultimately,
like that?
we will pick up the teaching unit,
Got
but
it.
we pick them up over a 5-year period.
Got it.
And so the first of those 4 will not enter this year, they'll enter the next year. We have a year to kind of get it all set up and get everything in place, and then we'll hire 4 STEM teachers. That'll give us 6. Is that right, or 5? 8 total, 6, that's right. 6, and then we already have 2. The first year, they pick up the cost, then we pick up 2 the next year, 2 the next year, 2 the next year, until we ultimately have those 6 on our payroll. But for about 3 or 4 years, they pick it up.
So even with the $2 million grant, the Madison City has committed to
Yes.
also invest in our STEM program.
Yes.
And those will be local units.
There'll be local units.
Got it.
We'll watch. Now, you know, if something tragic happened in the economy and things went south and we felt like that was going to be a challenge to our local funding, we have the option to say we can't continue. But we've been blessed so far, and I guess I'm an optimist. So I think we'll continue to see that, and over a 5-year period, we'll be able to put those in place. So we're looking
Awesome.
forward to it.
Excellent. We'll move into board comments. We'll start with you, Mr. Newberry.
Yeah, I was at Rainbow on Wednesday morning, so I'd like to help in with shuttle kids to the right hallway. So I'd like to thank Mr. Fernandez and his staff for allowing me to come help. I'm the newbie. I've been on the board since early June, and over the summer, it's really eye-opening how much work goes on over the summer to just, make this week sort of possible. And I still feel like I'm sort of underappreciating how much work it really is. And so I just kudos to everybody who, central office staff, everybody, the administrators, principals, teachers, everybody who puts in this mountain of effort to get school started. My kids are happy to be in school. I'm happy that they're in school. So just great work. And my heartfelt appreciation for everybody. Y'all are awesome. I also just want to say kudos to everyone involved in getting that STEM grant, the DODEA grant. I think that's going to be really great for our district and moving forward, focusing on STEM. And also helping the elementary school teachers get that planning period. So yeah, that's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mr. Newberry. Ms. Lessman?
I echo what Mr. Newberry said when I first got on the board too, and then you see what goes on behind the scenes and through the summer. There's, do you really get a summer break? No, so, and just for an example, I saw Dr. Donaldson at a parent meeting that lasted till probably 7:30 on Tuesday, and she had just come from a school where she was, helping to prepare. And then on top of that, she's got 2 kids of her own who was starting school the very next day. So I commend you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody that puts so much effort into this, and us investing in our schools with the STEM grant, working so hard to get that. We approved for the counseling services. I don't know if you had touched on that, but we're putting more days for the counselors to come in to the split across the elementary and the middle schools. So, and it's just going to be a great, I got to help with Bob Jones on the first day of school, and that went very smooth. It was really, actually, everybody seemed pretty calm, very happy to be there. The students, the staff, everybody seems so happy to be there. Of course, it is the beginning of the year, so we had our little shirts. I love our theme, glad to be here. It really means a lot, so just think about that. If you think you're having a bad day, I'm glad to be here. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ms. Lessman. Mr. Holton?
Yeah, I want to thank, again, all our staff throughout all schools and here in central office for a great start to the year and all the hard work you put into it. We know not everything's perfect yet. We got a few kinks still to work out, and we'll get those done. But I think everything started very successfully, very well organized. I was at James Clemens Wednesday, just helping students find their way to advisory, and I hope I got them in the right place. They maybe still be wondering, I don't know. But, the staff was very engaged. The students were excited, a lot of smiles, a lot of excitement. It was a fun time. So congratulations to everyone for that. And again, congratulations and thank you to the team that worked on this grant. It's huge to get that money to fund these positions, help fund these positions. I know we heard from a lot of students last year who were upset because they couldn't have year-round art and music. You kind of had to alternate. And the reality is we just didn't have the resources to handle it. So this will help alleviate that problem. I know it'll be very beneficial to all of our students overall. So thank you again for all the hard work on that.
Thank you, Mr. Holton. Mr. Cummings?
I'm excited. And it's amazing, Mr. Newberry and Ms. Lessman said, hey, coming in, still amazing what go on with the system behind the scenes. And when I come in today, I just wanted to high five everyone as I was walking in. And I was able to work at Horizon Elementary School where it all started for my son, and my son is heading off to college. And the thing that I know is he is well prepared. I know that he is well prepared because of Madison City Schools. And it's just exciting times to see that this system continues to just push out success after success, making investments into our system in our children, from the counseling sessions, and that was exciting right now, the STEM grant, and even with that $2 million STEM grant, we're making a commitment, and I'm just astounded with the system, how we continue to move money and fund these important projects that's important for our systems and our kids, and I'm just happy to be here. It's Friday.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. That's good. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Yes, first week of school is an exciting time. My 7th grader was really excited. I went to Liberty. Was there with many of the central office staff, including Dr. Donaldson, who had a 6th grader starting there, and so it's an exciting time. I just want to commend the staff. There's just a lot of logistics to deal with on the first day, and I know Liberty was under construction until T-minus a few hours before the first day, and let me tell you, the plant manager and the staff there, and all of you did such a great job. You couldn't tell it. I mean, you couldn't tell it, and want to commend also the C&P group there. I'm sure district-wide, but I went in and saw them they were glad to be there, and they're working without a kitchen right now, and that's got to be nerve-wracking, but you couldn't tell it. And they're wrapping up breakfast, and they're starting to pack lunches, and there's just a lot of excitement in there. And appreciate the work of handling all of that and getting the food for the district. As we've talked about before, that can be a challenge. I want to thank the parents. With those kinks, there were many parents that would stop by the office, and every parent I talked to was completely understanding. And they were saying, I've got these questions, and I understand somebody might not have answers, but I'm still going to absolutely ask them. And I just commend. We've got a great community and a great staff, and I'm glad to be here. Let's see. I'm very excited that with the continued expansion of our counseling services and our partnership with Enrichment Center, this is something that we've seen be used and be very advantageous to everyone in the district, and so it's an exciting expansion. I'm happy to see that. With nothing further, we have a next finance meeting will be August 18th at 4. That'll be followed by a school board meeting here in the boardroom on August 18th at 5. And if there's nothing further, I'll call for a motion and a second to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Lessman and a second by Mr. Newberry. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?